In this video, I share with you our trip to Worlds Semifinals 2022. But before we get into today's video, just wanted to share with you last month's GGGG picks. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And for this past month of October of 2022, Big Body Hazard, Charles E., and Martin L. all received $50 credits for Terrainify. Nathan H. received this printed, painted, and flocked hill set from Terrainify. Vincenzo F. received these ruins, printed and painted, also from Terrainify. Carolyn D. received $100 to go towards the Ruins of Modulheim Kickstarter campaign. Bobbinhead received $50 credit towards LV427 STL files. AJ is receiving the Kickstarter set of Etherfields. And $50 credit towards Dragon's Rest files is going towards Brandon B., Richard M., Dennis M., El Gordo 555, and Jean-Francois C. I want to thank all of my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys make this channel what it is, and thank you for your continued support. For this next month of November of 2022, the GGGGs that we have so far are an all-in pledge for the upcoming Talisman Saber Hex terrain, a pledge for Saucerman Studios Beam Down Terrain Designer currently on Kickstarter, $100 to go towards a crowdfunder, which my Patreon supporters will be voting upon, and possibly a laser engraver if I have time to produce that video this month. Go ahead and use the link below to go to my Patreon page to see the list, as more items will be added as the month goes along. So this doesn't have to do with board gaming or with tabletop terrain or 3D printing, but it does have to do with a passion of mine, and that is esports, in particular, watching League of Legends. And my son and I went to Atlanta for the League of Legends Worlds Tournament Semifinals round just this past weekend, and we had an awesome time. Now, this video is split up into a couple different parts. First is an introduction to esports and what that is. Also an introduction to League of Legends for those of you who don't know, because some of you might be wondering, why would anyone want to watch other people play video games? So we're going to get into that. And then the second half of the video will be my personal experience going to Atlanta to watch semifinals, which was the first time that my son and I had watched in person a live event rather than watching on our computers, which is the typical way that we are fans and watch these games. So we get this question a lot, why would we want to watch other people play video games? And pretty much it's the same answer to why people watch regular sports like football or basketball. I'm not a huge sports fan. I do every once in a while. Will root for our hometown St. Louis Cardinals. But in the same way that people get really passionate about watching sports, esports is also a spectator sport where you get to watch your favorite teams go head to head. And this can be in multiple different games. And in actuality, esports became super popular first in Korea. That's my native country. And some of the early games that they played was Warcraft or Starcraft. That was a big one that really caught on. And now they have professional tournaments for first-person shooters like Call of Duty or CSGO. But I think probably one of the biggest games that attracts the most number of fans currently is League of Legends. Last year's Worlds Final drew in a crowd of 77 million people. So to compare that with last year's Super Bowl, there were 99 million viewers. So it's pretty comparable in terms of the number of people that are watching. And there's a lot of money involved. There are sponsorships. And just like in regular sports, it's really hard to become a pro game player. So interestingly enough, League of Legends actually is what's called a MOBA, which is a multiplayer online battle arena, which was originally a custom map in Warcraft. And pretty much what happens is there are teams of 5 with different roles on this team, and they have to go across a map where they have to knock out the opponent's nexus in order to win the game. I did play when the game first came out a long time ago, and my favorite champion that I played was Teemo, which is a costume that I'm wearing right now. And I know a lot of people think that's a troll pick, but I really enjoyed playing. And I also did like playing Jinx when I was ADC in bot lane. And my son got into playing as well when he was 11 years old. and he's been playing ever since, although I dropped from playing just because I got tired of being yelled at by middle schoolers, and now I'm primarily just watching the game and really enjoy watching it, particularly since it's a way for me to bond with my son. He is a pretty capable gold level player, but doesn't want to put in all the time to get up to platinum, and for the most part has never aspired to be a pro gamer. Now, Riot is a company that made League of Legends, and they are taking over the world because they also are the ones who came out with Arcane, which is my most favorite animated series that has come out in the last couple of years. If you haven't seen my review video, make sure to check it out here. But they also made a first-person shooter recently called Valorant, which I haven't really played or watched. They're also going to be coming out with an MMO. And interestingly enough, they did produce a tabletop board game called Mechs and Minions. And in fact, I made a tutorial on how to paint the minions here. Check that out. It's a really fun game. So they have sort of dipped their toe into all sorts of things. Oh yeah, also they did produce a virtual K-pop band called KDA, and my daughter has cosplayed as one of those characters. And needless to say, we're pretty big Riot fans. And just like in regular sports, people have a lot of fun and build community around cheering for their favorite teams. But different from a lot of sports is that League of Legends is global. So there are global teams where you have different regions like North America and the EU, Korea and China. Although for the most part, the Asian teams have dominated. And in particular, the Korean teams are strong, along with the Chinese teams, as the champion winners have sort of gone back and forth between those two countries the last couple of years. So each year, at the end of September through the beginning of November, you have something called Worlds, which is the Worlds tournament. And you have the best from the entire country coming together. There's a couple of different phases, like the play-ins phase, that whittles down to the group phase. And then finally that goes to quarterfinals, and what my son and I went to this past weekend, which was the semifinals, the 4 best teams that have made it through the gauntlet. My son and I have always wanted to go and see a game live, and this was an opportunity where we could actually drive to Atlanta from St. Louis. So as soon as tickets became available, we went ahead and bought them without knowing who was going to be in the semifinals, booked a hotel, and drove down there this past weekend. And for those of you who have gone to sporting events, you know that there is a big difference between going live to an event versus watching it on TV. And that was definitely the case when we went down to Atlanta, that watching it live in the stadium with 20,000 other fans was a completely different experience than it was watching typically on my computer or on my phone. So we made the 9-hour trek down to Atlanta, and the first night when we got there was Friday. They had a tailgate party in downtown Atlanta, close to the State Farm Arena where the games were held. And my son actually cosplayed as Echo from Arcane, which was awesome. I was surprised that there weren't more cosplayers, but a ton of people wanted to take his picture, so that was really cool. They had games, they had food, they had beer. It was just an all-around fun time. And then the matches were both Saturday and Sunday night. So Saturday night they had the top bracket, which was T1 versus JDG. T1 has the most famous player of all of League of Legends, which is Faker. T1 is the Korean team and probably one of the most winningest teams ever in League of Legends. So they beat JDG, although it was pretty close, especially since JDG won that first game. I really thought, wow, they might really have a chance to take it. But at the end of the day, T1 just proved to be mechanically more strong, and so they defeated them 3-1. These are best of 5 games. Since the games were in the evening, my son and I, we were able to explore parts of Atlanta and get some really good food. We went to H Mart, which is a Korean grocery store that we can't find in St. Louis. Had awesome food there as well. Went to a Korean barbecue with one of his friends. A lot of the fun that I have when I travel to bigger cities in St. Louis is to hit up all of the good Asian restaurants, and that's definitely what we did. Sunday night was a bottom bracket game, which was DRX versus Gen G. These are 2 Korean teams. They went head to head, and DRX unbelievably won the series. The reason why it was unbelievable is because It's sort of a Cinderella story. They never were even expected to make it to semifinals, let alone now going to finals. In quarterfinals, they beat last year's final champions, Edward Gaming, which is a Chinese team. So they unexpectedly won there. And then they unexpectedly beat Genji as well. And the fun story behind DRX is one of their veteran players came out from the same high school and grade level as Faker, is Deft, as this is rumored to be his last season playing. He's always chased after the finals and has never made it this far, so it's really exciting to see. So it's going to come down to the finals. It's going to be in San Francisco this coming weekend, and it's going to be super exciting. Normally I would just be rooting for T1 since that's my primary team, but a part of me sort of wants Deft to be able to get his win finally before he retires. One of the funny things that happened was while we were going to the Sunday night game, the Atlanta Falcons had just finished, and so the Falcons fans were walking out of the stadium. That was pretty close by to where we were, and it was really funny to see the Falcon fans walking this way while all of the League of Legends fans were walking the different direction, and it just struck me how different these two groups of people were. But at the end of the day, we're all passionate about our teams and we were all cheering. There's an opportunity for kinship. Rather than seeing the difference, I feel like there is a lot of parallels. Now, I do think one of the reasons why esports has caught on a lot in Asia and in particular in Korea is because the players are more representative of those of us who might not be more naturally sporty and can't really compete in sports like basketball or baseball or football or things like that. The reason why some of the appeal is that you can be sort of nerdy and like a video gamer and see someone that looks like you up on stage succeeding. So I think that's one of the appeals and the draws. And when you look at the crowd, you know, there's a huge proportion of the crowd being Asian, which is not something you necessarily see when you go to regular sporting events. So this is, again, an area where people see representation and get excited and buy in on this. So if you haven't looked into esports, this might be a way that you can check into it just by watching. By the time I post this video, the final championship is scheduled for the next day, Saturday. So go ahead and take a look. Definitely, if it comes into your home city, you should go ahead and get a ticket and go to the game. It's a lot of fun. And for those of you who are wondering whether or not you should start playing League of Legends, I would actually say maybe not, just because people can be super toxic. If you do play, I suggest just muting everyone in the chat so that you don't see them in chat. It is a relatively fun game, but it is challenging to master. But overall, I've been pretty satisfied becoming a spectator, and especially as a way of bonding with my son. My son and I also did stand in line for an hour at their merch store at the stadium. I did end up picking up this Jinx figurine for my daughter since she cosplays as Jinx. I wish it was the arcane version, but this is actually the in-game original version of Jinx. But she thought it was super cool, so I spent the $75 to get this figurine for her. Next week, we're going to talk again about 3D printing terrain, but hopefully this video was helpful for you if you've never even thought about esports or knew what it was. So happy gaming. We'll see you next time.